Hey guys, my camera crew's here and we're gonna go out and do a little fishing, but before we do, let's go up into the yard and shoot some bows. What do you say? Yes, sir. All right. I think that'll be kind of neat. I think we can do some little target practice. I like archery both for targets and also for hunting. I think I have some tips that may be interesting for the bow hunter as well as just target practice. So I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. So stay with me. I'm Hank Parker.
Also today, we'll take a rare, fascinating look at the North American elk. And as an extra bonus,
among other things today, my special guest is Mr. Tom Mann. We're going to go out and give you a little technical information. You know, I've had a lot of requests lately from a lot of our viewers that wanted to see how to rig a Texas worm or how to fish that topwater lure. So today we're going to go out and show you some of that, and hopefully in the process, maybe even catch a fish or two.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at?
Hi, this is Hank. Sorry I missed your call. Leave me your name and your number and I'll get back to you.
He's gone fishing.
This is Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine, featuring the first sportsman to win both the Bassmasters Classic and the title Bass Angler of the Year, Hank Parker.
Man, shooting about the same. It looks like I need to move my pin in a little bit. I pulled it maybe just a hair. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I'm shooting my hunting bow. I'm shooting field points this morning. The bow I've got set up is for broadheads, big sharp razor point, and it shoots a little low, but I'm shooting just a little bit to the left. This bow that I have here is pretty neat bow. It's set up for hunting. It's got a lot of features on it. Let me show you some of them. First of all, the most important thing on the bow are the sight pins. I have a 10-yard pin, which is red. I have a 20-yard pin, and I'm shooting from where I'm at here. I'm shooting 20 yards. And then I have a blue pin, light blue here, that is a 30-yard pin, and then I have my 40-yard pin. What you do is you line these pins up if you're 20 yards, and that's an advantage of shooting a bow like I'm shooting here. This bow is a 78 to 80 pound pull bow, and the pins, you see how close they are together, and estimating yardage is not nearly as critical with a heavy pound pull bow as it is with say a 60 or a 55 or a 45, a lesser pound pull. So that's the advantage, one advantage of shooting a heavy pound pull bow. If you're off a little bit, it doesn't make that much difference. Now I'm 20 yards here. I did step it off, so I know I'm right at 20 yards. And I'm shooting my white pin. It's critical when you're shooting your pins to lock in the same place. That's the most important thing. And when I say lock, I'm talking about when I draw my arrow back to make sure that I release from the same position. And so what I try and do when I shoot is I try and get this thumb underneath my chin for a locking point and my finger in the corner of my mouth and the string touching my nose. Let me show you. Take an arrow, lock it on. You notice here you've got 3 colors of fletching. You've got, this particular arrow has 2 yellow and 1 orange set of feathers or fletching. Always put your odd color on the outside. That's for you novelists. Most people that shoot are very much aware of that. And the reason for that, the way the feathers are on the arrow, it will clear the strings. If you turn it the other way, then your fletching will bump your strings or your cables or the side of your bow here on your arrow release, and you'll kick your arrow out, so you won't get a very accurate shot. But now what I was saying, with your locking position, before you pull back and before you get in the situation where you need to lock, make sure you got your feet placed properly. I space my feet. What's comfortable for me is about 1.5 feet or 2 feet. I plant them solid, and then I put my arm, I fully extend my arm, draw the bow back, put my finger in the corner of my mouth, my thumb under my chin, string touching my nose. Bullseye, I can't believe it. Release straight back. Now, to get a good flight, you need, when you release that arrow, you need to come straight back in slow motion. You don't need to have a fast release or pull off to the side. If you do that, it'll cause the arrow to kick and you'll get a bad flight and it won't be nearly as accurate. So when you release that arrow, remember to come straight back and release them completely clean. Don't let it drag. Don't just slowly release it. I'm shooting a tab here. Now, a lot of people shoot quick release and different type of release, but with the tab, which is what I prefer, I think it's better really for a hunter, and I also like it just for target practice. But don't let the arrow or the string drag off of that tab. Release it clean and straight behind you, and you'll get better arrow flight to be more accurate. This again is my wife's bow. This is about a 20, 24-pound pull. It's a whole lot easier than that 80-pound pull. But what I wanted to show you is a neat feature. This is a peep sight. And it's, you know, I told you earlier about locking, and it's very difficult to get a comfortable locking position, and it takes a lot of time and practice. The peep sight eliminates all of that. What it does is it always is in line because of this little surgical rubber deal that you have that's locked on the bow and also on the string. So every time you pull it, because of the little rubber deal, it lines your peep sight up with your pins. Therefore, your release position is always the same. Archery is a great sport for the whole family. Everybody can enjoy it. My wife loves it. I really enjoy it. I love shooting it, shooting in the backyard. I love hunting. I like the whole aspect of the bow. Guys, you come in here and let me show you a little difference between types of compound bows. You can buy compound bows. This is little Hank's bow here. Uh-oh, bud, I'm sorry, did I get you? This is little Hank's compound bow here. It has about a 20-pound pull also, and it will adjust up to about 50 pounds, so he can use this bow for several years. Bill and Ben, they each have the same kind of little compound here where they got about a 12-pound pull. We got a little squeaker. I think it might spook a deer. But they really enjoy shooting, and we have a lot of fun. Guys, let's go over and get set up and see if you can't hit that bullseye one time. What do you say? All right, guys, we want to be safe doing this, so Ben, I want you up here to shoot first. Hank, you can come on in. Come on, Bill. Come on right over here. Get lined up. Now, you remember how I told you to stand. There you go. Get your feet right. All right, get set up. Good form, Ben. Good form, buddy. All right, all right.
Absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? Look at the herd bull standing back there in the background. You know, I thought it'd be fun today to talk about the North American elk. These are the Rocky Mountain elk, the largest of all the elk species. And we're going to watch a herd today of about 50 or 60 right here in this park.
Next, wildlife conservationist Jerry Hagee reveals some little-known facts about the North American elk. And still to come, some practical fishing tips from Hank and his special guest, Tom Mann.
You know, whether you're a tournament fisherman or a weekend angler, a good fishing partner makes all the difference. Now mine, she's a little better looking than most, but that beauty's a lot more than just skin deep. She's tough, and she's got what it takes to consistently give it her all. And she's there when I need her. Best of all, she's a Ranger.
Ranger boats. We still build them one at a time.
Go for it with Ryobi. Tough, dependable reels for any kind of fishing. Ryobi. There's never been a better reason to go fishing.
Ron, this is the only lure that'll catch fish on this lake. I got half of mine not to let you fish it because you don't have extra strong trilene on that reel. Don't lose it.
The only place this lure is going is down a big old hog's throat. Uh-oh.
Doggone it, Ron, I'm going to show you why you need trilene. It's up to 20% stronger. It's the line the tournament pros use, and it's the line that set 400 world records in just 12 months.
You know, I always look forward to learning more about the world of animals. Let's go now over to Arbuckle Wilderness.
We have an American elk there standing on its hind legs reaching the browse. This type of weather, they're looking for something to eat. Of course, we feed several hundred bales in here each day, but right now they've passed by the hay or they've eaten the hay in this area, and she's found her a little cedar to kind of tide her over for a few minutes. There's another one over to our left. They're beginning to browse on the trees as they stand here watching us, and as we watch them. I was looking at it also a very unusual situation here. We see several little bull elks standing together. In the normal times, or especially during the mating season, those bull elks would never tolerate each other in the same vicinity. In fact, there would be one bull and the rest of the bulls would be off by themselves. In the animal world, and especially in the elk species, it's always survival of the fittest. We're watching a magnificent 6-point bull elk. And they measure those points by the points on one side, the shortest number. And as he begins to move through the trees, if it becomes heavy timber, he'll lay those antlers flush against his back and he can run at full speed through the heaviest of timber. But if he kept his head up, it'd catch his head and possibly could even break his neck. They learn that quickly, and especially after they've become that size. And if we see him move through any heavy timber, we'll probably see him drop that rack. We'll keep our eye on him closely and watch him. Here he goes, here he comes, here he comes. Look at him lay that head down. Duck those trees and move on. If you'll listen closely, you'll hear some trees snapping. And those oftentimes are the antlers hitting along the limbs of the tree. A bull elk running through the trees can literally snap a 3-inch limb off with his antlers. You'd think the antlers would break off, but no, that's not the case. They're so strong that they'll snap limbs as they run, and they'll run literally through small trees, just right over the top of them. There in the herd, we're observing last year's calf. You'll see that one right at the base of the tree. There's a young spike elk standing behind it, and that calf's just about, 6 months old. If we could get a full-grown elk next to it, you could see the difference in size. They come out just a little bit reddish brown, and they're very, very curious and very clumsy when they're first born. But now that little elk can travel right along with the rest of the herd, and they can literally run for a couple of hours before they stop. The North American elk really consists of about 6 subspecies, and among them are the smaller forms like the dwarf Roosevelt elk from California, Sacramento, or San Joaquin Valley area, up to the real giants from Colorado, from Wyoming and Utah, known as the Rocky Mountain elk. Really elk are not native to North America, even though they're called the North American elk. Like many of the other animals, they crossed the existing land bridge between East Asia and North America. Bison, brown bear, wolf, and beaver really belong to these same immigrants. Because of its size, the English settlers in North America called the animal elk, which, of course, is zoologically incorrect. But the name stuck, and that name has been used ever since, even though the real name is Wapiti or Wapata, depending on which area of the Indian community you're from. And the Indians named our elk. Aren't they gorgeous? Look at them. Aren't they beautiful? What a magnificent herd. You know, we in North America are so lucky, so many continents on Earth can't even see these animals. And surely there's nothing more magnificent or beautiful than this gorgeous North American elk.
Here we are today with Tom Mann again, good friend of mine down here in Eufaula, Alabama. Tom, I had a lot of our viewers write in and ask us to tell us why, or tell them why we fish certain lures or how to rig. You know, we keep talking about a Texas rig worm or a buzz bait and certain types of willow leaf spinner baits and all the different things that we talk about. We've got a lot of viewers out there that don't really understand exactly what we're talking about, so we've had a lot of them to write in. And today what I would like to do is go out and show them some of those techniques and why you rig a worm. And of course you designed a lot of these baits, and I couldn't think of anybody that would be a better guest for us to tell our viewers how to do that.
Well, you know, Hank, you can never learn too much about baits. There's always something to learn from everybody. You don't ever quit, do you? Asking somebody?
No, sir. I keep playing.
I don't either.
I keep tuning them and playing all the time.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's put the boat in and just ease out there, and maybe we'll get lucky and catch a fish while we're showing them how to do it.
Okay.
Sounds good. The jigging pig and the plastic worm. You know, it's two of the most popular baits on the market today. And there's probably 100 different plastic worms and jigs available, but two of my favorite are Mann's auger tail, the worm that swims in the middle, the flipping waggler, a plastic worm that has more action on the fall than any bait I've ever used, and Stanley's tricolored jig trail with Mann's auger frog. Probably the deadliest big fish combination available. Now, I've put these lures together along with the Fenwick 20 satchel box to make them available to you on a Hank Parker Outdoor Magazine special offer. Let me show you what I put together. The Fenwick 20 has an amber lid that is see-through. You have adjustable dividers and positive drawdown latches making the box waterproof. We have two 20 packs of Mann's flipping wagglers, two 20 packs of FS 454 coated auger tail worms, two Stanley jigs, one with a Magnum flipping hook, the other with a lightweight casting hook for light line use, and a pack of auger frog trailers, my favorite trailer. This is the finest fishing value I know of anywhere today.
Hank's lure pack and tackle box can be yours for only $19.95 plus shipping and handling. Send check, money order, or call toll free.
Order yours today. Looky here, Tom.
What you got?
I got me a bass. How about that? Now, I caught him on a Texas rig. I told you earlier that we were going to talk about how to rig a worm. Now, I caught that one on what we call a Texas rig worm.
All right, I'm going to be throwing this swimming rig with her.
You throw your swimming rig. Let me tell them a little bit about this Texas rig, then I want you to show them that secret weapon.
All right.
So, let me tell you a little bit about a Texas rig worm. The reason we call it a Texas rig is because it was found out in Texas. Somebody in Texas started rigging a worm this style. But what you do is you use a bullet weight, a little slip sinker. You can buy these at most any of your tackle shops. It is in the shape of a bullet and got a hole. You just thread your line right down through the center of it. It's sharp and you can bring it through the grass or through the brush without hanging it up. But what you do is you just thread that bullet weight on there and tie a hook. Let me stop here just a second and show you what I'm talking about. Your bullet weight will look just like this. Then you got your worm hook, and the reason it's called a worm hook, it's got these little sproats on it here. That'll hold your worm up there once you rig it. But you put your lid on and then you tie your hook, and then you simply thread a plastic worm. Let me get one out of here where I can show you. A couple of those out there. Then you just take your plastic worm and thread it on the hook and go in about maybe say 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch. It really doesn't make that much difference, and come right back out with your hook. Bring it back around, turn it over just like we have there, and then you reinsert the hook back into the worm. That's totally weedless. That's about as weedless a bait as I know to use. And that bullet weight will slide right down there and stay with the worm, and you can fish it weedless. Now, Tom, that's the most popular rig for a plastic worm on the market today. I want you to show the folks, the viewers, there's a lot of viewers out there that's never seen this type of rig.
I call this a swimming rig, but you can call it anything you want to. It's just a weight, put a swivel on here to keep your weight up. like it. And all your swivels for is to keep your weight up there, off of your worm. And then you put about a foot, 18 inches back, and you tie your worm.
I see.
And then all you got to do.
Well, now you rigged your worm just like I was talking about.
Just like
you rigged
the
it Texas style, right?
Same way. Yeah. All you doing difference in the Texas rig, you got your lead a foot or more ahead of your worm.
All right. That's where you got your leader up there, and you can actually just swim it along. You fish it a little faster.
You don't do nothing but wind it.
How about that?
And then when it's ideal in grass, like we got right under here, and you just wind it along the top of it, and your lead's touching the grass, but your worm's floating loose. So you don't get all that gook on it all the time, on the grass. And they come up and they do bite different. Now you'll feel just a little peck because you're cushioning it with your.
Let's go out here. Let's go out here and see if we can get a bite on the swimming rig and a bite on the Texas rig.
Let's
explain to our viewers exactly what you do once you get that bite.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
All right, now Hank, when you throw this swimming rig, you start winding it time it touches and hold high on your rod tip and just see, he got it then, see?
How about that?
Now I was just swimming right along above the moss there, because this water is very shallow where he was at. So you don't want to throw it out and let it sink, it'll just fall right in the moss.
He wasn't big enough to get in the moss.
No, he was sitting on top of the moss there, boy.
He wasn't big enough to penetrate. But you know, it is a neat rig for fishing the moss. A lot of times with the rig that I'm using, the Texas rig, it'll get down in the moss and pick it up. But like that, your weight will be down in the moss, but your worm will actually be up there 6, 8 inches above it.
It don't hang up near as bad as your regular Texas rig. It's ideal for moss fishing. It's a lot like spinnerbait, ain't it, when you fish it that way?
Right. But the one thing about it, if the fish are down in the moss, the Texas rig may go down in there and bring them out better than what your swimming rig. But if the fish are above the moss,
missed one in. Yeah, if they're above it, they're swimming across it, that's right.
Right.
But now, if I'm throwing down in the moss, I usually try to go along where I can see down in the holes in it, and that's definitely I go to the heavy Texas rig.
Yeah, kind of like
where
a
you just drop it right down in there, yeah.
You hear a lot of people talking about how to set the hook on a plastic worm. I really don't think there's any standard, and I don't think it's an absolute way or one way's right and another way's wrong. I think whatever is most comfortable for you. I don't ever try and let a fish swim off with a bait. I try and hit him as soon as I feel like he's got it. A lot of times you'll throw it out there and you'll feel a fish tap it a time or two and he won't have it. So you need to let him take it just a little bit better. But for the most part, if I feel a hit, I figure that fish has got it, and you can pretty well tell after a little bit of time whether he has or not, a little bit of experience. But what you do is you just simply cast the worm out. And like here, we're fishing in shallow water. That's why I selected such a small bullet weight. They also come in a variation of sizes, starting down at about a 1/32 and going all the way up to a 1.5 ounce. So they come in a lot of different sizes. Probably 3/16 is the most universal and the most popular single-size worm lead. But you just throw the worm out there, you let it sit for a second, let it sink to the bottom, and you're just kind of giving it a jigging action, working it back and forth. And I always try and let my worm stop and rest for a few seconds after I fished it back, and when I get it in a prime area, I'll stop that worm and just let it settle for a minute. And you just pick up on your rod tip and work that bait back to the boat with your rod tip, and then let it stop, and then wind up your slack and continue to do that. Now, if that fish strikes that worm, you just pause for a second and give him just a little bit of, take up that slack, just give him a little bit of rod taking up the slack, and then set the hook. Set the hook with a jerking type action, speed in your wrist. Several years ago, Tom, when the old worm rods came out, everybody thought you had to turn the boat over setting the hook.
Yeah.
But it's really done with the wrist. You'll have a lot more success on hook setting if you'll just set that hook with the wrist. A good solid hit, a good solid set. I hope I can get a hit and show you in just a few minutes exactly what I'm talking about.
I just missed one right over there. Get him.
Show him what to do, Tom. Quickness is more important than hard pull. Now, right there's a strike. See with my wrist. See right there?
Man, yeah.
He's a small fish, but just pop him with your wrist. Fire, little fella.
Let me throw over now.
Why don't you look that hook through that fish? See there? Went all the way through him. Just use the wrist, even though that is a small fish and that's not a hard mouth. That hook went all the way through, penetrated him well, came out all the way on the other side of the barb. You don't have to worry about getting a hook through him when you just pop that wrist. That's all I did, just an easy little hook. Now, if I can get it back through there, cut him loose, he'll be back out there eating minnows in just a few minutes and never even know what happened.
To be perfectly honest, I can't tell you I catch fish every time I go fishing, and I can't tell you that every time I use fish formula, I catch them. But I can promise you, on the slow days, it definitely helps me catch bigger fish. I'll stake my reputation on it, and so will these other well-known fishermen.
Hey, let me tell you something. Fish formula works. Under all sets of situations, it'll help you increase your odds of catching big fish like this.
At last, the ultimate in fish-finding technology, Humminbird's LCR Liquid Crystal Recorder, the depth sounder that bridges the gap between flashers and charts, combining the best features of both. Now the most advanced concepts in sonar are combined with state-of-the-art microcomputer innovations to bring boaters and fishermen more features and more fish-finding versatility than any other depth sounder on the market. LCR, the creation of a new generation from Humminbird.
Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine, where each week Hank Parker, one of America's finest sportsmen, will take you on an entertaining journey into the great outdoors. Join Hank and his friends for some of the finest fishing this side of heaven, and meet some of the world's most amazing animals to boot. Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine. Now don't you go away. Hank will be right back.
There are 3 ways you can try moving closer to these fish. With a gas outboard, with a noisy electric, or with a quiet Minn Kota electric. To a fisherman, the choice is black and white. Minn Kota, the quiet power that catches fish.
You know, Tom and I got so carried away with our tips, we didn't have enough room to bring it all to you on one show. So we'll be back next week with part number 2. Thanks for being with me today. God bless you. I'm Hank Parker.
Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine, sponsored by Fish Formula. We fool Mother Nature. Humminbird Depth Sounders. Minn Kota, quiet power catches fish. Ranger Boats, we still build them one at a time. Ryobi, there's never been a better reason to go fishing. And by Trilene, extra strong.
If you've got a question or maybe a tip you'd like to share, drop Hank a line. Write Hank Parker's Outdoor Magazine, Denver, North Carolina, 28037.
The house needs painting, the grass needs mowing. Where's he at?
Hank, this is Tom. You told me to call you when they're biting. They're biting.
Gone fishing.